Welcome to the midterm exam review. In this video, we're going to work problems 1 through 10. So let's start with number 1. In order to determine if this is a function, I need to check all the x values and make sure that they are all different or that they don't duplicate. Okay, so if I look at the x, 14, 15, 8, 1, and 15, okay, notice that I've got two x values that are both 15. So in this case, the answer is no. This is not a function. Or if I were to pick the multiple choice, it would be B. Okay. Now, in number 2, it says to use the vertical line test. I'm also looking to see if the x values repeat. Okay, so I really don't want any dots or any points that may be vertical or on top of each other. So if I check vertical line test on each one of these, okay, I should not cross 2 points in any one vertical line test. So in this case, the answer is yes. This is a function. Okay. Now I'm sure you've already looked at it because this is number 3. Basically, I hit 2 points. That means that there are two x values, and that means that this is a no. All right, let's do the next problem. Okay, so in some equations, when they ask us about translating, they're going to give us y equals -4x squared minus 5. And they ask us how it's different from -4x squared. So I'm looking at the part that is actually changed, which means I'm looking at the 5. That means that this parabola, which was once at 0, 0, has now been shifted down 5. So all I have to do is find the answer where it shows that it's been shifted down. And so notice that it also says that it can be shifted to the right, to the left. So you might consider this like to be a trick question because it's going to give you every single possible one. So we need to know which way the numbers go when they're in the equation. So this one, the answer is shifted down. The answer is D, shifted down 5 units. Okay, now for number 5, this is the part that gets people when they start looking at this notation. Okay, now remember that I have to put in a 6. You could also look at it this way, f of g of 6. That means that I'm going to put 6 into the expression on g. So g of x, so I'm going to put 6 right here. -2, 6 goes into the x minus 5, which is going to make it -12 plus -5 is -17. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the answer from 17, I'm going to put it into f because that's the one, I always do the one in the center first, and then I go to the one on the outside. So we're going to take the -17 and put it into f. -3 times -17 plus 7. All right. All right. So the answer is 58. Now, that is your final answer, okay? So this is the one that you want to answer when you're on the test. All right, let's do number 6. Okay, so it says use set notation to write the domain and range of the function. So we're going to write out the function right here. So we have 4x plus 3 squared minus 2. I'm going to just sketch this graph really fast, which is fine to do on the test as well. So that's going to be left 3 down 2. Be about right there. Okay, now I don't care how skinny it is because it's going forever both left and right. So let's do the domain first. Okay, so it says use set notation, so that means I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to say, well, if it's going to the left to infinity and to the right to infinity, then it's going to be x is a real number. Okay. All right. Now let's do the range. The range actually starts at -2. So, and it's also equal to at -2. So I'm going to go y greater than or equal to -2. Okay? All right. So that's it for number 6. Let's try the next one. Okay, so we're using function notation again, and we're going to add two functions together for number 7. So we're going to take the expressions from each function, because it says to add f of x and g of x. So I'm just using the expressions from each function. Okay. Now, I put them in parentheses so you could see which ones I was using, but now I'm going to just add up the like terms. So -5x and 2x make -3x, and 3 plus 7 is 10. They're not looking for a final answer here. They're looking for a simplified answer, which is just the addition of the two expressions. Okay. So for number 8, we're going to do subtraction. So we're going to set it up. So this is why I always do the parentheses, so I can remember what I need to do in the middle. So we're going to do f of x minus g of x. So g of x is 6x minus 3. A lot of people, what they do is they do 4x minus 6x, so they get -2x, but then they forget to subtract the -3. So -5 minus a -3 is really a -2, because you're going to add that 3. So minus a negative makes it -5 plus 3, which is -2. Okay, so for number 9, we need to multiply them. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to take the function f and set it up, and function g is 3x minus 6, and then I'm just going to multiply. So I'm going to get -21 x squared. So I'm doing FOIL, so I'm going to do the first, and then I've got a negative times a negative, so that's 42x minus 12x plus 24. So make sure, just double check what you've done. This is your -21x squared. That made positive 42x. This made -12. And this makes positive 24. So -21x squared plus 30x plus 24. There's my final answer on that one. Okay, for number 10, we need to find the inverse. So I like to go ahead and take the function notation, write it as y equals. All right, we're going to switch the x and the y, because on an inverse, that's what happens. In order to get that reflection that goes across this line, y equals x. Okay, so the reflection is across this slanted line. So in order to get that, all the points switch. The x's become the y's and the y's become the x's. So in order to get that in the equation, I do the same thing. All I do is I change the y changes to an x, the x changes to a y, and then I leave the numbers exactly where they were. Even if it were a squared, I'd leave the squared exactly where it was. Okay, so I'm going to take 6 and I'm going to subtract it over. and I have the 2/3 y waiting. I'm going to multiply by 3 on the other side. That'll get rid of that 3, right? And then I'm going to divide by 2, and then that'll get rid of the 2 if I do that like that. Okay? So I know that it's reciprocal. I know that most people say multiply by 3/2. I just like to separate it for you so that you can see each piece. Okay? Now I'm going to simplify to make this look in the proper format. So y equals 3/2 x, and -6 divided by 2 is going to be -3. So the inverse of this equation is y equals 3/2 x minus 3. Okay, that's our last problem for this video. Please take a look at the other videos for the exam review and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.